really got to try on that left-hand side. What happened?
Oh, but I've gone up and over and bloody head over biscuit. It wasn't enough stability there for myself, but no, I was busting for a bit of meat this game. It didn't seem to work out.
Hello, cheers, and welcome to the Scrum of the Earth podcast, the weekly show for news, reviews, great interviews, and so much more, all about the world of rugby. My name is David Lawrence. I'm an American rugby fan who follows the game wherever I can find it, all over the globe. If you'd like to get in touch, well, I'm easy to find on all your socials, and you can always just drop an email to thescrumoftheearth@gmail.com. Well, as you have no doubt deduced by now, this is not your usual weekly show, but is in fact yet another bonus episode. This time, I'm thrilled to welcome back our most frequent visitors, two all-around fine gentlemen. They're here to look ahead to the upcoming URC season, which amazingly kicks off in just 2 weeks as we record this right now. So first up, just back from a tour of the Outer Hebrides, it is, of course... by the way, after one performance, his drumming was referred to by the local clergy as unsanctimonious. It's the one and only John Anderson. John, pal, welcome back. How the heck are you?
Yeah, not too bad. It was a bit of a trek getting back today. Actually, we've just travelled back from one of said gigs, but yeah, it's been a wee bit of a journey today. But I am here. I am back, which is all good.
Well. By the way, we've also got another, by the way, Craig, I guarantee you, is sitting there rolling his eyes in anticipation of my next incredibly dumb joke at his behalf. But so here we go. Welcome to the brilliant, lovely Craig Manson. How's that for a curveball?
Oh, that is a curveball and a half. I'm expecting some sort of vacuum joke. Did you see what I did there, vacuum? Or I was expecting some sort of motorcycle joke or... something like that, and I've got just a brilliant and a half, and that just makes me happy, you know.
See, I'm always going to bring some curveballs. I'm always going to keep you on your toes. So, by the way, we're just 2 weeks out, I just mentioned, from another blockbuster year in the Rock Nation United Rugby Championship. Do we think anyone has notified Jay-Z yet? Like, I've heard he's been reluctant to renew his season tickets at Zebre. What are you guys hearing?
I'm sure he's a big fan. He's a busy bloke, isn't he? So he's clearly got other commitments. We can't all make every fixture, but I'm sure he'll have it clear in his schedule, maybe for the Italian derby at some point.
Obviously,
that's the one you would go to, right?
I mean, it's probably going to be really nice out at least.
Aye, true, exactly.
So for a bit of historical context, by the way, the rock in Rock Nation is not spelled R-O-C-K like the musical style or former pro wrestler. It's actually spelled R-O-C like the giant mythical bird featured in the classic literary work Arabian Nights. Craig, get ready because I'm just going to lob this one right over the plate. Craig, given that context, does that make Glasgow's performance in last year's final a tale of Franco Baba and the 23 Thieves?
Yeah, that's for sure. They definitely stole that one from out of the blue. Either that, or they played this sort of what's the word? Sir Alec Guinness. This is not the URC winning
the
team
Jedi mind trick
we are looking for. And then all of a sudden they popped out and went, "Yeah, we are." One of the two.
Craig, I know you had to go on your own podcast and talk endlessly about Glasgow's performance in that final, so I figure you might still be smart, and I figured I would give that one to you.
Yeah, I luckily I have avoided that quite dramatically, which is we left that to John and Johnny to sit and have a. I can't see what they would normally have.
I think most people can imagine what you're trying to say at that point. I think most people now know you and have a vibe. You know what Manson's going to say there. Yes, me and Johnny thoroughly enjoyed chatting away about Glasgow. It is safe to say.
Look into each other's eyes and holding hands.
Never break contact. Okay, it's all about
you had me at URC final.
You had me at Sione.
I mean, that is very fair. Yeah. John, I know that was a little bit unkind, but to be fair, your team did win it all. How nice was it for you to be sitting in those stands week in and week out, just a loyal season ticket holder to the end?
Sorry.
I had to give Craig a couple of bones there.
Do you know, well, in a serious point, it does again speak to the ridiculous ticketing structure at Scotstoun and the costing of rugby.
Did it go up again this off-season? It must have.
Yes.
They just won the final. They must be like, come on.
Up again. Not as much as it could have went up, but up a wee bit again. And they've done a new, like last year they introduced a new banding system where they basically, rather than put the prices up lots, they've just got rid of lots of the cheap tickets and rebanded.
We have not, in fact, raised prices. Look at us.
No, but you now can't get a bronze ticket because there is none, because we got rid of them all. Unless you want to stand behind one of the few pillars. Yes, I'll say it. Scotstoun does have tent poles as well, Craig. But yes, the cost of rugby as a wider conversation. The cost of going to rugby is so astronomical now that it's not right. Like, it's very difficult. So no,
I mean that's why the sport is bursting at the seams with all this extra cash.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's how we're going to.
Well, I believe they're going to start doing dynamic ticket pricing at Scotstoun. And at Murrayfield, where I don't know if you've heard about this.
No, what is this?
If you haven't already heard the fact that Oasis are reforming and touring
even over here, it was hard to avoid.
Yeah, exactly. And also, funnily enough, I got caught out with because I went to go and see the Boss play at Murrayfield, and when you get into they sell you, or they get you to join the members club or whatever it is. Then you join Ticketmaster or whatever. Then you get to go into a ballot to be picked out to be one of the lucky ones who then gets to sit in a queue. And while you sit in a queue and you've decided that you're going to pay 130 quid for a ticket because that's the sort of cost it is, you get in. You finally get in, if you get in, and while you're there, the ticket banding starts to go up and up and up. Because it's dynamic, because there's so many people are demanding these tickets and are trying to break into this ticketing system that they're under demand, so they're going to put the prices up because that will stop what all these different people want to. And then all of a sudden, once everyone is fleeced, because once everyone, like I got to a point where wanting to watch Bruce Springsteen, they were wanting £730 per ticket for a seat at the back of Murrayfield, so that I could watch. I'd be better off just watching the Boss play on TV.
Yeah.
They then Oasis had they decided, right, that basically everyone was going after Ticketmaster, and then Ticketmaster threw Oasis under the bus by saying,
it's up to the artist.
It's up to the artist, and it's the artist to make the dynamic choice.
Wow.
After that happened, they then announced extra dates after everyone had paid this dynamic pricing. They announced extra dates. It's just unbelievable. So anyway, welcome to the Scrum of the Earth rugby podcast.
Now featuring Oasis. So I've long theorized that a cool way to do it would be to have like a ticket raffle. So it's like, you can pay whatever $10 per chance to get a good seat, like in a tombola or something, where it's like, if I have $500, I can take 50 chances to get a really good seat, whereas another person might just get one. So it's likely that the person paying less is going to get a cheaper seat, but every now and then, who knows? You might get a great view, and and the rich people might have to sit in the back every now and then.
Paolo Nutini done that in Paisley actually recently. So you paid a donation to charity, and that was your entry to the raffle for tickets. And then you had a chance. So it was a really intimate, like 200, 300 people gig in Paisley. He's a Paisley boy, so it was a big homecoming thing, and it worked really well, and charity made a lot of money out of it. So very good.
Well, as regular listeners, and you yourselves surely know by now, I always use this opening segment to sort of try to get you both riled up. But of course, it's always out of love. Considering the pasting your Scotland team put on my Eagles this summer, it's vital that I quickly pivot to other topics here.
quick, over there.
It's not forgotten. Don't worry.
Squirrel. John, I'm going to start with you. If you would look back on what became an amazing season last year, for the record, both of you came on this very show and described the URC season last year as meh. What are a couple of highlights as you look back now? Maybe upset wins, great individual plays, Leinster losing.
It's always beautiful when Leinster lose, isn't it? I think we did come on and say at the time it was a bit meh, and I think that it was a bit of a drawn out kind of season. You couldn't really anticipate what was going to happen, and then the playoffs were incredible. Well, just amazing. Like the quality of play was outrageous. The quality of the games was outrageous. I think just the playoffs really. I've often wondered if having playoffs is the right way to settle a league-based structure. Having that, I've always questioned that, but I think this season really justified it for me. So I think just in general, the quality of play in the playoffs would be my highlight. Obviously, there was a couple of, I think from a Glasgow perspective, we've said that the 2 wins at the end of the season. The 2 away wins were the biggest away wins Glasgow have ever had in their history. In terms of how good they were. So, from that perspective, it's obviously a huge highlight. And we spent the whole time going, we're not. We literally were chatting on the side, going, yeah, they're definitely not doing it this time. Yeah, they're away to Munster. They're not. Come on, Munster have been brilliant. If we keep it within 10 points, we're doing well here. No, off they go. And then with the altitude and the Bulls, it was like, again, you're expecting a bit of a pasting, but the guys just delivered. So not to dwell on that point anymore than has to be done, but I mean, the URC trophy has been doing the rounds down this side of the country, and it's been very pretty to see.
What did they do? Was there like a parade in the downtown Glasgow? Is it going on around? Like, what did they do?
Yeah, so they've done a welcome party back at Scotstoun. So that was on the final was the Saturday night, and that was on the Tuesday, Tuesday evening from about 6:30 at night. They done they introduced all the players. Half of them were still on the session after
I thought you were going to say still drunk.
No, still on the sesh. They were still drinking their vitamin T and getting wired in. I mean, they put on a good show for the fans, and there was lots of fans there, and the players were so generous with their time, and obviously very excited, to have won a trophy. Because let's be honest, aside from all the nonsense little kid-on cups that don't really, like the Pizza Crunch trophy and all the silly things you win, aside from winning the Calcutta Cup every year, Scottish players don't tend to win that many trophies. So it's quite nice to have another one for the cabinet.
Craig, man, same question. What are a couple of highlights when you look back on the season that was?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one because I've got lots of lowlights, to be perfectly honest, and I'm trying not to be so pessimistic. But I think Glasgow have to. I think that game for Glasgow against Munster. Munster have been phenomenal this last season. They look like a well-oiled machine. They had some fantastic players who maybe have been promised lots of things, and then the Irish rugby union then have kind of backed away from that, and they've had to go and start looking at different places to go and play for, but especially Anton Frisch and people like that. But Munster have looked phenomenal, and everybody, just as John says, everybody looked at that game and went, Glasgow are going down there and they are not coming away with a win. I think there's that. I think also the Lions have really come from a point where they were, as a young team, because they are a fairly young team, they've not got a huge amount of money to spend compared to the other South African teams.
Right.
They've performed very well. Benetton, again, John and I disagree regularly.
Lions could not put butts in the seats last year.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's. But they, their performances were, outweighed the standing in South Africa that they have. And again, John, we laugh about this regularly because I'm fully aware that Italy are an emerging nation. John is a little bit less.
I don't think John has officially acknowledged that Italy is a country. In fact,
yeah.
Do you know what I have discovered though? I had a good think about it in the off season, and I think that what Benetton are now showing, Craig, is the benefit of really prioritising one team.
Yeah,
and I think that the SRU could probably learn from that. And
because they need to stop prioritising Glasgow and give Edinburgh some of their money.
Oh, here he comes! Here he comes.
Anyway,
how many lions?
Okay, I'm going to step away for a few minutes.
No,
honestly, magic money tree over at Murrayfield. Printing cash.
So for me, I think Benetton really became that team at the moment where
their home record was crazy last year. They were a powerhouse.
Yeah, and I don't see them winning the URC next year, but I do believe they're at that stage now where probably Racing are, where in the European Cup, where you go to Racing, you don't know what you're going to get, and they've got the ability to slap you around the face, but also they've got the ability to implode dramatically if depending on who's playing. So I think Benetton are at that.
So you're talking about Owen Farrell right now.
Well, I'm saying nothing about Owen Farrell because, I didn't get to see the game, but I believe he's not been having the most. In fact, they're starting to talk about. Was it? I don't know if it was Sexton or if it was Dan Carter's experiences at Racing. I think Dan Carter got on quite well at Racing, so it must be the failed Johnny Sexton experiment.
Neither of those boys had successful times at Racing.
No, okay, right. So
Carter was not far off of. He spent a lot of time in the sidelines. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
And Johnny Sexpot. He quickly realised that he had to rush back to Ireland to be the darling child again.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting. But yeah, as I say, I have to say those Glasgow really have to take the honours because they were the biggest. I would say we all talked about them in a fairly high regard. We thought Glasgow were going somewhere. We just didn't think that this year, last year was Glasgow's year, and so I think. And that also, just to go back to what John was saying, what's fabulous about the URC is it's showing that we don't have clubs that are going bankrupt. Let's bracket Wales in a different situation, but we've got a load of clubs who are being able to survive, whether it's with union support or not with the union support. But they're all involved. They're all very, very close in competition, and every team that goes there. It goes into the weekend has the opportunity to win against the opposition. So,
it just occurred to me. So 2 years ago, I thought there's no way Munster's going to win, and then they won. Last year, I definitely thought there's no way Glasgow's winning 2 games on the road in a row to win this thing, and they did. Is that maybe the hidden beauty of the URC that we're always wrong? We're always off by like a year, and it's always going to be a surprise.
Well, Jay-Z is a puppet master. That's
yes, he saw it all. Yeah, he was like, "What's this game called again?" Okay, I've got it.
Now, obviously, Netflix have dabbled in the Six Nations with the full contact stuff. So, next stop URC watches the rumours of meddling from the producers behind the scenes comes in as the storylines interweave. Beautiful.
Nice.
What I would say, however, is I have to say though is that going off on a tangent here, the Netflix documentary of Full Contact with was really just pretty poor because they didn't get enough access. And I think if they went to the URC, because the Premiership rugby, English Premiership, you'll get no access whatsoever because they're all, But I reckon,
and if they did, all the interviews would be scripted, and all the players would be like, "Yes, we're going to give it 110%."
Yeah, exactly.
I had a good week and we've learned lessons.
Yes, we'll take the learnings from this.
Yeah, Scotland do that regularly. But I would say, that's a good thing with URC is that you could actually probably follow 3 or 4 teams with the cameras and actually get a pretty in-depth part of it.
Because I think the content certainly from the Scottish pro clubs, the content that you get from them is generally quite. It's quite interesting. It's quite open. You get the guys being silly. You do get to see a bit of the personality. And I think, as you say, Craig, at club level, that's still kind of possible. even though Glasgow and Edinburgh are still under the bracket of the SRU and still, will be media controlled in that sense, but they do have a wee bit more autonomy, which is nice. So I reckon there's definitely an idea there that they could go at, and maybe get a Netflix hit on their hands.
Yeah.
By the way, because we're actually doing the video now, I figured I would show this off to you guys. Have either of you seen the movie The Cable Guy, Jim Carrey movie?
Yeah.
Did you know that Medieval Times was actually a place, and that I'm now the proud owner of a holographic cup from said place?
Oh, fantastic!
Classic.
Yes,
Nice.
I in honor of some commentary the other we had recently, David, I've obviously decided tonight is a vitamin T.
Oh, there
sort
it
of
is,
night.
vitamin T.
Vitamin T, yep, there she is. I wouldn't ordinarily be scoofing that, but it was what was in the fridge after a hard weekend of rocking. So,
Yeah, it's a fine provincial ale. It's one of those small breweries that
Yes.
you know.
I read somewhere that 70% of all the beer that's sold in the entirety of Scotland is Tennent's Lager. Not Tennent's, like, various products, that one.
Yeah.
yeah, the other 30% is super lager, which is interestingly is a delicacy in Italy and other European nations. So
Really?
Tennent's do Tennent's super lager, which is I mean, how would you describe it, Craig? It's like if you took the worst things in society and put it in a can and then gave it a massive alcohol content and then made it taste like feet, then you've got what super lager is. I mean, that's the recipe pretty much. But yeah,
John,
it is.
John is a taster for Tennent's. He works for them.
Nice. This is actually an unpaid advertisement right now.
Yes.
Super Lager. Kind of tastes like feet.
Tennent's super, I tell you. Yeah, that's this thing.
Oh,
If you ever want to go down the park and have a few drinks with
a few tinnies.
with the what's the word? I could actually. If you want to come over to Scotland and go for a drink in the park with a basket of deplorables,
There we go.
bring out the Tennent's super.
Get the TL super lager down you, and that be you. I genuinely think the lowest point of my life might have been a night involving Tennent's super lager. I was at a very, very horrendous bar on the Isle of Bute. I was just turned 18. It was Christmas Eve, and I was drinking Tennent's super lager, and I woke up and I really did not want to be here. It was horrendous. I had the worst headache in my life. It is awful stuff. But the general lager is an acquired taste, but it's not too bad.
Well, my buddies from This'll Do Nicely, the what do they call it? The Scottish podcast about Scottish people doing, I forget exactly what they say, but it's a bunch of Scots who moved to America and they sort of do a pod about things they miss. And they always said, as soon as, when they go back to visit family, the first thing they want is a Tennent's Lager, and then they open it and take a sip and go, oh yeah, that's right.
You see, it's all in the delivery. You see, this is the thing, and we've had this discussion before, John. The issue with Tennent's Lager is, out of a tin, the first two drinks out of a freezing cold tin are fabulous, and then it starts going downhill from there. I'll tell you one thing though, out of an absolutely frozen glass out of the pumps in a pub after you've had a game of rugby and it's the first drink you have, Tennent's Lager is the best thing you've ever had. It is
gods.
Absolutely.
Nectar of the gods.
So it's
Something
all
about the phenomenon of the frosty mug. It just brings things to a new level.
It really does.
Some of the greatest Tennent's Lager pints in history have been after games of rugby. I
Absolutely.
completely concur, Craig.
So I know, as we were chatting before this show, I told you both that I wasn't going to throw you any curveballs. So guess what? Got a little curveball for you.
Curveball, yeah.
There we go.
A little quickie pop quiz. I think you'll both admit that the quality of my surprise quizzes has gone way up since the very early days when we started chatting, when facts may have played a lesser role. Craig, how many draws were there in the URC last year?
Wow, I think Edinburgh were involved in most of them. Let me think. There must have been at least 10 draws.
No.
Wow.
Wild. 2.
It was 2. Benetton versus Munster and Zebre versus Cardiff.
So for those that are actually tuning in and watching live, I do tend to send a wee message to John every time he gets one of these things right.
Well, John, pressure's on. Which team topped the table at 13-1-4 last year?
Who topped the table? 2 seconds. Was it? No, it was the Bulls, wasn't it?
It was Munster. The clue was that there was a
Munster?
draw in there, and we just listed them as one of the 4 draws.
Yeah, I wasn't listening to you though.
Oh, damn it! Craig, just below that table-topping record, 3 teams were tied at 13-5. Any idea which teams they were?
Well, one of them was the Bulls, I'm sure.
Right.
There was the Bulls. I think Benetton were in there somewhere, were they not? Or
They were
close?
not.
No,
I
okay.
think they were bottom half of the 8.
Okay, so there's definitely Leinster, Bulls.
Yep.
And then I'm going to have to say the Weege, Glasgow.
That is
you
absolutely
go.
correct.
Okay.
John, did Zebre win a game last year?
Yes.
They did. They won 1 game. It was in round 4.
Yep.
Craig, which team finished 14th out of 16th last season? They won just 1 more game than the 15th ranked Dragons.
That was was it the Sharks?
It was the Sharks, the sad Sharks, who gave Zebre their 1 victory of the year.
That's right.
Final 2 ones. John, out of the 8 teams that didn't make the playoffs last year, which team scored the most points?
Oh, was it Edinburgh?
Very close. It was the Lions with 526, and Edinburgh were after them with 416. That's a pretty big difference, though. 110
Actually, yeah,
points.
when you say it like that.
But Craig, Edinburgh, as we just said, scored 416 last year, but how many did they give away?
Oh, I can't. Oh man, I'm not good for figures. They've. So what did they take? What did they do themselves?
They scored 416.
Well, I would say probably between 450 and 460 away.
Not even 400. They gave away 397 points.
Oh, okay, right, fair enough.
Anyway, I love pulling stuff like that on you guys. It's totally unfair to spring it on you. On the other hand, I knew you'd both bring the noise and basically know it all anyway. So
I don't know it all. I think maybe John will know a little bit more than me. But I'm just totally and utterly like stats. What are stats? I have no idea.
So John, on a scale of Duncan Weir to Finn Russell, how excited are you about the upcoming season? I'm about at Duhan level right now.
Well, I don't. Where does Duhan fit in that scale? Is that 8 out of 10?
It's not an exact science, I admit.
Where is it? Where does Dave Grohl fit into this? I don't understand your scale. There needs to be rules, David. Rules. No. Do you know what? Actually, at the moment, I'll be honest. At the moment, not terribly. I'm not.
Huh.
I've not really engaged in it yet. Like, there's pre-season friendlies going on just now. Do you know what? You ask me the same question in a week's time, I'm probably going to be buzzing.
Okay.
And I will be really excited for it. And when the season comes round, I'll be so happy to see rugby back. And, I'll be watching every game I can possibly manage. But I don't know. I just felt a bit cold this summer with, with the tour. I didn't really, it was a tour that Scotland had to win every game, or else it was cataclysmic failure and tuning out.
Right.
So, and it was expected to win it. And after the high of the Glasgow victory, it was kind of like, I think I stepped away a wee bit and just kind of, enjoyed it, but also just took a break from rugby because it was such a long season last year, with the World Cup and then
It really
feeding
was.
right through. It was, we're talking almost a full year of rugby. It was, and whilst we're not out there playing rugby, we're all in the sphere of covering it and following it and supporting our teams, and that takes its toll as well. It's tiring. So, yeah, I took a summer off. It was quite nice. And But I'll be
so we're looking for a player name. Who's a player who makes you feel like, that's fine.
Well, I mean, you've heard my issues with Jamie Batty, haven't you? So, I mean,
that could be a good one.
Yeah, I mean, who's a player that just makes me feel meh? I don't know. There's lots. I struggle with meh because I don't know if you've noticed, but I tend to be a wee bit opinionated, and either someone's a wee bit.
Never.
Craig is shocked.
Shocked. Colour me shocked. Yeah, either someone's a wee bit Doug or they're amazing. And there tends not to be much in the middle. And it's a very thin line where you're at, in my viewpoint, at that point. So, do you know who's a bit meh? Grant Gilchrist. There you go.
I can't believe it. I was just about to say Grant Gilchrist. I feel like you're at the Grant Gilchrist level.
I was sweetheart Grant Gilchrist. His picture is up in the high school. There's a strange fact for you.
Craig, same question. What player encapsulates your level of enthusiasm right now?
Oh, well, right, okay. Well, right at this one in time, it's probably Ali Price because I'm incredibly unfit, can't be bothered, and just kind of, I'm exactly the same as John. We've had a long season this season, and it's been a mix. I started coaching a different team altogether. I then had to cut that short because I got a new job that I couldn't coach. The rugby has been full on. I couldn't go to any Edinburgh games. Edinburgh has been very, meh this season as well. So lots of things to do. Even the Scotland tour, although we won very well, it was a bit meh. So I think really I'm an Ali Price at the moment. However, I am starting to get, I'll tell you another one, just so that you're not just always getting the Scottish point of view. I'm a Ross Byrne. I'm kind of.
That's a good one.
There's other people out there that are better than me, and I think they're better than me, and I've just every time I get trotted out, everyone says, "Oh, it's not him again." It's just that sort of that's where I am at the moment. But, come on,
are you comparing yourself to British and Irish Lions starting test scrum half Ali Price, Craig?
who for some reason seems to have when
or forgotten how to play rugby.
Yeah, it's like I don't know if there's any Marvel fans out there, but in Doctor Strange,
I think there are.
Doctor Strange gets his soul taken out of his body, and Ali Price has had his soul taken out by Glasgow and kept in Glasgow, and he's sent his body along to Edinburgh to play rugby for some reason.
You're suggesting that Ali Price is astral projecting his career at Edinburgh.
Well,
I dig it, Greg. It's a great theory.
I am definitely calling him Doctor Strange from now on.
How many possibilities can I see of Edinburgh winning the URC this season?
Hang on, wait a minute. One? How many? There's an infinite universe.
He's done 14 million variants, but just one, Craig. Just one.
Just the one.
So, looking back at last season, we, of course, when it came time for the postseason, we had 3 Irish teams in the playoffs. My Connacht, they missed out. We had Glasgow and Benetton from what I call the Haggis Cannoli Shield. We had 2 of the 4 South African teams with the Lions and the Sad Sharks missing out. And then sneaking into that final spot were the Ospreys, who I have to say look like they've made a few improvements this offseason. John, the top 8 always changes year to year in any competition, so it's incredibly unlikely this will again be the list come the beginning of the playoffs this coming year. Which team or teams out of those top 8 do you see missing out this coming season?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's difficult because of the way the structure of the URC is obviously designed to try and get representation from different nations. I think you will have to watch out for the Sharks. I mean, I know they had a terrible season last year, right? Utterly, to use my phrase, Doug.
Except in Europe.
Except in Europe, exactly. And they had, it's a young side they've got. That they're really starting to build something there. I think they could be a bit of an upset this year. They could start to really kick on. From a from a Scottish perspective, Edinburgh are far too good a side to not be top 8. Far too good a side to not be top 8. So hopefully we'll see some stuff clicking there. Still got some questions about the coaching setup and the game plan. I know Craig certainly does as well. But let's see, if Edinburgh can push forward. But I think that's the beauty of the URC, is that we can say that about two teams that I think should be top 8 teams who could just as easily finish 13th and 14th, because the quality through that league is massive. I think we're going to see another downturn from the Welsh sides, and I think they will get a side in the top 8 as part of just because of the way the structure is. But you're going to struggle to. I think you'll find the rest of them will be quite far down, and I don't see necessarily anything getting better there anytime soon.
Craig, same question. Out of that top 8 from the playoffs this year, who's going to miss out? What team or teams are not going to be in that top 8?
Well, I think we're talking about young teams as well, and teams that are restructuring, etc. And the Stormers worry me. The Stormers are either going to be Stormers are either going to be absolutely phenomenal, or they're going to be, to coin John's phrase, dog shit. So I took it that extra far.
You went too far. Come on,
because it's live. My apologies.
Family friendly. I know.
We already established there are no rules.
Okay, there are no rules. I think the Stormers worry me because but again, it's this thing of and sorry for all the listeners and the viewers out there that the URC is so close, and you get to a point where there are just single points in it on a regular basis that you just can't. You can say, Connaught, for example. Connaught are perennial. They'll always be in the top 8. They're always, because they're an Irish side. They're always really good. They could lose. They could be in the bottom half of the table. Edinburgh. Everyone said Edinburgh should be. Are going to. Of course, Edinburgh are going to be in the playoffs, and they didn't. They absolutely imploded. So you just have to look at these teams that are. We keep going on about Munster, and there could be a point that Munster implode because they're losing a lot of their players that were dragging them kicking and screaming forward as well. Wales, I think there will be. I think the Ospreys have got a good chance. We've just found out that Toby Booth. Now, is Toby Booth Ospreys? Yeah. Huge news. At least they've got him for this year, but I mean, which also makes me think, why announce that now? But anyway, I guess so I guess they're getting they've got a last hurrah with them. So there's you might find that the Ospreys will push on from there, and then I'd like to see another Welsh team kick on somewhere. Scarlets or something, get their act together. The problem with Scarlets is they're just not got the funding through because nobody comes to watch them. Because they're not winning. So there's lots. I'm sorry to be vague, but I think, as I say, I think the Stormers are one for my concern, because I think the Sharks will come on and they'll have a better season this season.
Well, I mean, the obvious other side of that coin, the equal and opposite reaction, and you both kind of already hinted at it. So if we have teams missing out, there's obviously some teams coming up. You both kind of mentioned the Sharks. Craig, is Edinburgh cracking it this year? I don't want to start in on the I have it written down here. Are you on board the hype train again? I'm seeing positive things in what little press I get to see. Are you ready to pull the choo-choo?
Yeah. Yes, because and I'm going to sound incredibly stupid here, but I've forgotten the name of the Free Jacks coach, who's just
Scott Matthey.
Scott Matthey has come across, and Scott Matthey is an exciting coach, and hopefully he's going to bring something. He was. He was. So I think for us, where we've really struggled this year, or last year, I should say, has been attack. It's been incredibly dull. So I think he's going to bring a huge amount. I hope he's going to bring a huge amount to the attack. We've signed some nice players over the closed season, who I think will strengthen that side of things as well. So again, I expect Edinburgh to be in the top 8. We've talked about this on a regular basis, that why the hell Edinburgh didn't get in the top 8 last year with the roster of players that they have. I do not know. And again, I will point a rather chubby sausage finger at the coaching staff, because people say, "Oh, it must be the players." The players have to take their part in this. And it's like, well, yeah, but they're paid to do a job, and even Duhan van der Merwe, who has been rumoured to have been playing at 50% all last season for Edinburgh, still looked fabulous. So I
mean, he's going to look fabulous not playing.
Well, yeah. He turned me, I must say. He's one handsome looking man. Anyway,
And so what is the deal with the coaching? Like they hired this guy and said, "Well, you're interim," and then they said, "Okay," and then he did okay, and they were like, "Okay, you're not interim anymore." And nothing seemed to change. Are they still looking at that? Is he the guy? Are they kind of quietly looking? What's going on?
He's been confirmed as lead coach, and he's got a 2-year deal, I think, if I'm right in saying.
Yeah, 2 years.
So he's here. I think if they were going to do that, they should have done that when they've actually brought him on board, rather than giving him a year's gig and saying he is basically Sean Everett in brackets. We're going to see how he does in close brackets. As I say, what he has done, what I would say, he has brought toughness to the team. He seems to be really bringing a bit of anger to them. A bit, the forwards seem to be breaking the gain line a bit more, and their defence seems to be a lot stronger. The 2-up tackling, etc., looks fantastic, and they look like they don't collapse completely. Unless they're in Benetton, that's a different story. They don't collapse completely in defence. But what that brought in positive then gave a negative, and that is that the attack just looked blunt. And every, you just watched, James Lang get the ball at 12 and just go smack into somebody, and it just didn't. They never used their wings. They never. The only person that really shone in my eyes was Harry Patterson, but then Harry Patterson came on and he has shone he would shine in any team, to be honest. He's the ability from the boy, and the sheer just wants to do everything. So and also they lost Blair Kinghorn as well, which we'll talk about later on. But who he is a talisman for Edinburgh. He always has been, no matter whether people. I've had people in the stands behind me swearing and shouting and calling him everything, but he's still he was still a talisman for Edinburgh.
So I knew people were always, there was controversy, but from where I sat, it always felt like people were just. I didn't get the feeling people didn't like Kinghorn. I thought they didn't like where he was getting played. I thought like him playing at 10 made people angry. But was there really that much backlash against BK?
There has been, yeah. There has been, and it's this whole thing of I don't think he should be in that position. So he's an ass. I was going to say worse things, but I'm being family friendly.
He's clearly worked his way into that position, and he's manipulated something, or he's done this, or he's turned someone's head to get it. It's quite ridiculous.
And I'll tell you what. There are people, and I'm telling you this right now. There were season ticket holders behind me in the stands calling him everything and really horrible things, and getting themselves so wound up about him. And then off he goes. People were saying, "Well, good riddance." There were people saying good riddance. There's a lot of people who said, "I can't believe he's gone," and we're all disappointed that he went. But there were a lot of people actually said, "Go on, son, on you go. Let's see. It's the world's best club.
Yeah,
go and have a go." And I'll tell you what, just how wrong could everyone be? Okay, fair enough.
If there was a list of players I was just most happy for how things have unfolded career-wise for them, BK's at the top, obviously, last year. The guy deserved it. It was so great to see him succeed at that level.
He's keeping world-class 15s out of the starting lineup.
He is.
Which then equates to him being a world-class 15.
And that's the thing. I think having moved over there as well, I think it was a really important move for him, because we often talk in Scotland about, Scotland's a small country, right? And you do get stuck in a bubble, and quite often, you can find that players, Craig, I've seen this in the system, I've certainly seen it, that players are great for, Scotland level, URC level, but if you want to be world class, you've got to go abroad. You've got to go elsewhere and prove that you can do it out with that kind of goldfish bowl. And I think the change in Blair Kinghorn's game, Blair Kinghorn, and I was a staunch critic of the 10 experiment, because I thought it was just ridiculous. Blair Kinghorn's skill set is so better at 15 than anywhere else, and I'll, as a hill I will choose to perish on, but he has improved his game immeasurably. He looks much more confident, in his defence. His kicking game was always strong from hand, and he's continued that. But he's playing with world-class players now, and the confidence that gives a player to go, do you know what? I belong here. I'm good. I'm very good. And, if a player believes they're good, you see it with Finn Russell. He knows he's world-class. And it means he tries things, and that's what we need. We're so good in Scotland at tearing people apart that have any talent. It's one of our national characteristics, that anyone who gets above their station, we go for them, and it's a horrible trait. And Blair Kinghorn was a victim of that. Finn Russell was a victim of that when he was playing at Glasgow. Certain players have been victims of that, and then it's been proven they're idiots. But it's something we do, and I'm delighted that Blair Kinghorn had a great second half of the season and has won some silverware, and I wish him all the best over that. It's great to see.
Greg, it reminds me of the West Wing when Danny says, "I'm tired of Democrats always eating their young." It's that same phenomenon, I think.
Yeah, and this is the thing, we've suffered this already with the Anton Dupont situation, where everyone is there's a definite half and half. There's Anton Dupont is king or God, and then there's another half who he's not that much. And I'm thinking to myself, hold on, he's got a Six Nation title under his belt as captain. He's got several European Cup titles under his belt, and now he's a gold medalist in the Olympics. You can't turn around and say that guy doesn't have talent and he isn't world class. He is, and okay, fair enough. Some people say he may not be the best rugby player in the world. That's subjective, because he is the best player in the world at probably in sevens and at his position in 9. He may not be the best prop in the world, but he is a phenomenal player, and he will bring something to any team that play him, and he has shown that.
So I've been on board the Antoine Dupont greatest of all time conversations, and it's really hard to argue. But I've been beating the drum. Jason Patras from my New England Free Jacks. He's won 3 championships in about a year and a half. He could win another one with Taranaki, that would make it 4 in just under 2 calendar years. I think that argument would be over.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's all subjective. Yeah. And as Craig's rightly pointing out, I think we're so far removed now from the rugby's a sport for all shapes and sizes. Because see, when you have the greatest of all time conversation, it's just like soccer, where you go, oh, it's got to be the guy that scores all the goals, or it's got to be this guy, it's got to be that guy. When actually, it might be the centre back, it might be the prop forward who is actually showing the best skill set in their position. And these players are only able to do that because they've got 14 other folks around them doing their jobs well. So you'll never hear an Anton Dupont or any world-class player talking about themselves individually. They talk about what they do for the team, because that's what it's meant to be about. So I think Dupont's a fantastic player, and we're absolutely privileged to be able to watch him.
You make a great point. Like, if somebody doesn't know soccer that well, of course, the person they're going to gravitate towards is the person scoring all the goals. Same in football. The MVP is always a quarterback or a receiver. And it's like, well, they don't do the whole thing themselves. And even so, as somebody who came to rugby kind of, comparatively late, it is difficult for new fans to perceive how, the set piece sets up the other things. Like if your scrum isn't functioning, that guy's not making all those tries out wide. You know what I mean? Like all those things are supremely interconnected, and the flashy guy is almost never the one who's most important to a team, with some exceptions.
Well, it's what Duhan said after getting the try record, didn't he, Craig? It was something along the lines of, it was easy because I just had a walk-in. Mm-hmm. And that is it from a winger's perspective. That's the dream, a walk-in, because yes, Duhan can score tries from halfway, knocking over 15,000 Englishmen and scattering their corpses across the pitch. But the tries he wants to score, and the tries the system want him to score, is those walk-ins, because that means everyone's done their job to perfection and the system works. And those are the best tries to see. They're not the flashiest, and you kind of go away and go, good try. But then when you watch back and you look at all the different moving parts within it, it is so intricate, and that's the difference. It's such a team sport in that sense. So yes, you get individuals, but the norm is when you're scoring those tries, the day in, day out, the bread and butter, doing the basics well. That's what's most important. So. And DuPont does that.
Well, you mentioned that quote from Duhan. There's actually another great quote I have here. After that same interview, he gave another quote. It was in Afrikaans, and so I think the translation is, "At least we don't have to talk about that other douchebag anymore."
There's no way to talk about Darcy Graham.
Ooh, zap.
Who is, by the way, that other douchebag who is now starting to be talked about as he should be back in a blue shirt because
Walter for the autumn.
Because
I forgot to even check it. Did he played this weekend, right?
Yeah, and he scored scored his first try.
Jesus.
After coming back, it's just
So, John, give us a couple players that you're really looking forward to seeing this year. Like, who do you think is going to make that leap to that next level? Like, if you would, give us somebody on Glasgow and then maybe one or two other teams.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think from Glasgow's perspective, I've been talking about this all summer, but having Adam Hastings back at Glasgow is a massive, massive fill-out for Glasgow. Some people have got issues with him in terms of, leaving Glasgow to kind of going further his career. People forgetting that actually he'd lived most of his life down south anyway. He was very attached to that space that he was in. So, but I think Adam Hastings has the potential to be nigh on world class 10.
Nice.
When Finn Russell left Glasgow, Adam Hastings took up the mantle, and the drop off was negligible. He had a phenomenal season that year. Does different things, of course, but I think he is probably closest to Finn Russell's style out of the 10s that Scotland have. And I think if he can stay fit, he is a almost world class 10 that Glasgow have been needing for many, many seasons now, and we would never be able to afford them if he hadn't had his injury issues. So that to me is, he's coming back to Scotland. He'll be well looked after, hopefully by the teams, and make sure that he's fit and fighting fit. So yeah, I mean, I just think it's a really exciting thing to see him back. Obviously, there's external issues at the moment with the news about the Hastings family, and that's obviously tragic to hear.
Oh, I don't know anything about that. Is it not something we should talk about here?
No, we can't. Scott Hastings' wife, I believe, the body has now been found. She's passed away.
Jesus.
So Adam was playing last night, but there was some questions as to why he was playing, but because she had been missing. But
wow.
We were kind of thinking he probably wants the distraction, to be fair.
Exactly, yeah, that's the only reason.
But yeah, so tragic news coming from the Hastings
oh my
family
gosh.
at the moment.
I had no idea.
Hope if anyone's listening to this, wish them all the best with that.
That's just terrible.
But yeah, so I mean, it's put a bit of a, obviously it's a very sad point on a really exciting return for Scottish rugby. So just hope.
How
Adam's
dare
been
you
well.
bring some content that I can't callously make fun of?
I know, sorry. I know. I try so hard, and then I know. But I mean, in terms of other players, looking at other sides, I think.
Go ahead. Say Lewis Resentment. He'll be back.
Oh, he will be. He'll be back, won't he? Oh, bless. It's so funny. I loved the description of him when he played his preseason games for the Chiefs, and he was just described as, I've never seen an American football player look so slow. And it's like, and you're like, he was rapid in rugby. How fast are you people? But he did. He looked clunky, and that just comes from playing a sport you don't know. But I think the big one for me, I think, is obviously Mr. Barrett coming over to.
Yes, famous Dubliner Geordie Barrett.
Enjoy the delights of Dublin, which I actually had a conversation with someone today about how Dublin is possibly the most overrated city in the world.
Oof.
I know, I'm just going to throw that out there and upset some people. Someone described it as an overpriced, overpopulated Glasgow.
That is serious condemnation.
It was pretty brutal. And you know, I have to agree. But I'm not a huge fan.
I do wonder. New York famously has Pizza Rat. Does Glasgow have Pizza Crunch Rat?
Possibly.
No, Glasgow's got Tenants Rat.
Yeah.
His little fangs in the side of the tin.
Tenants Rat and some hoagie. Let's get some hoagies. No, I think Barrett. Seeing
Interesting.
It's always great when you see these players.
They're gonna use them so that they're not as weakened as other teams during Six Nations, during Europe. Like it's just another cheat code that they've discovered, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the other big name that obviously announced just the other day that Khaleesi is leaving Racing. His expensive pension top up has come to an end. Therefore, you'll see him back at the Sharks most likely. And what a massive signing.
I feel like I need to play for Racing for a year just so they can pay me to not show up anymore. That sounds great. I mean, figured it out.
Look at the world-class players that went over there and just absolutely couldn't be bothered. It's quite remarkable.
And their owner called him fat. That was one of the funniest things of the entire year.
Yeah.
That's the Khaleesi. He's a big fatty. We don't need him.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean,
okay.
Maybe. I mean, if you had the fit and proper owners test at that point,
exactly.
You would maybe go, really? That word does not mean what you think it does.
Yeah, maybe it was a translation.
I may be taking a bit of a wild take on this, though, but I've always felt that Khaleesi, as a player, isn't that all that.
Hot take.
However, his leadership qualities and his story, his leadership qualities in a Springbok jersey, etc., has overtaken the actual player. I actually don't think he is one of the best flankers that South Africa have. But and so maybe that Racing have found them and said, actually, the what's the word that's it's aesthetics over performance. But I don't know. I think he just his presence precedes him, if you know what I mean. But I'm not.
Yeah, people say his best quality is his leadership and those things he brings. So maybe that just didn't translate to the Racing setup.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be like hard on him. I'm not trying to say, oh, you're all wrong. He is a phenomenal player, but I think it's an overall package rather than him actually on.
My crazy theory is that if you've established yourself as an elite player and you have like a hairdo or like long hair or something going on, the day you cut that hair is the day that era comes to an end. We've got Hamish Watson, we got Sia now, Cami Shat. The list goes on, and my crazy theory is starting to look less crazy by the year.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely the case, and obviously now with rugby having fully embraced the party at the back approach to hairdos. The Glasgow pre-season game the other night had possibly the worst collection of haircuts. Like, genuinely, these aren't haircuts; these are assaults. People should be arrested for doing these to people. Like, you know, like if you've done a really bad tattoo on someone, you'd go, yeah, you should be put in prison for that. These haircuts are atrocious. Like, what are kids think? I saw a kid the other day, Craig, with like a full-on mullet. It genuinely looked like, you know, the guy in the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Antti Kiedis.
Yes, he does look a bit stupid as well.
Okay.
But by the way video, and he's got his wee pal, and he's running, and he's got the stupid moustache, and he does the funny dance. And he's got the horrendous hair. There was a boy who looked exactly like that, and I was just sitting there as a father going, "You look like a bloody idiot, son. What is your deal? Why would anybody employ you? You look like a muppet."
Well, I'm seeing on I'm seeing on my conspiracy theory rugby sites here that they're actually all desperately trying to qualify through a back door for Australia. Could that be it?
I'm not convinced anyone wants to qualify for Australia after the absolute horsing they have just taken.
Oof.
Oh, dear.
Not a good weekend in the boringly named rugby championship. Craig, we actually are getting back to the same question, like who's an Edinburgh player you're looking to make the leap next year, and then maybe somebody else who is elsewhere around the URC.
Okay, well, there's two Edinburgh players I want to talk about. First of all, the return of the chosen one to Edinburgh, Matt Scott, is coming back to Edinburgh in the centres. He is the chosen one. Matt Scott never should have left Edinburgh in the first place, and we are very pleased to see Matt Scott coming back.
John's level of facepalm was beyond Picard right there.
Yeah, let's just say that John has plenty of players in the Glasgow roster who fit into the Matt Scott the returning hero, and we'll wait and see if they actually do anything. Okay, so there's that. All right, so I'm going to get. That's me said it. I'm not going to talk about. No more questions, please. No more questions.
Yes.
And that's the last year of Matt Scott. This
yeah, I know. I'm just
no. I'm writing this down so that a year from now I can be like, how did that go?
And then the obvious one is now I'm going to really pronounce his name incorrect here, but it's Masesi Tuipulotu, Sione's brother. By all reports, he's coming to training and he's looking absolutely fabulous. So
interesting.
Yeah, it's really good. Hopefully, going to bring this a Tuipulotu Matt Scott centre partnership. Is
wait. What will it be? Scotty Pilatu? What's going to be
Scotty Pilatu or Pilotio Matt?
Tuipa Scotty?
Tuipa Scott. Yeah.
What if you have James Lang at 12? Like Langa Pilatu?
Wow, good goal. No, I think
You've got a feeling Matt Scott's going to get some yards this year, now.
I've got a feeling that Lang's going to be shunted and Tuipulotu's going in at 12, but that's a different story. Anyway, so I think Tuipulotu Jr. is going to really come out, really impressed from what we know. And then out with, I'm really, I just love this player, and I'm just really excited. I just wish he'd come to one of either Glasgow or mainly Edinburgh. But Vincent Koch.
Oh yes, yes.
He's gone to Ulster, and I think he is.
He's gone to Ulster, really.
Ulster will obviously totally and utterly mess it up, but he is a phenomenal player. He is again a winger who wants to be a prop forward, and he hits the intensity that he hits rucks at, the intensity that he plays rugby. He is a phenomenal player, and I love him to bits. And again, fits into the hairstyle thing. He's got long curly hair, and he looks like he's going 10 times faster than actually. He's a bit Faf de Klerk, if he gets tackled, the tackle looks really bad because it's just all of his hair is actually throwing the momentum forward. So, yeah, I think he's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to him. I did have Jordy Barrett down on my list because obviously everybody wants to see what he's going to do.
You've shown your prop card here, Craig, because you've said Vincent, who's the prop.
Right, okay.
You're after Werner, my friend.
Werner, there we go. It's the V that threw me. It's the V that threw me.
It's true.
What a handsome chunk of meat, though. He's a good-looking boy.
He's the fit Robert Plant of rugby.
Oh, he really is.
I remember when they played. It was the Lions tour, and I remember watching him against the Lions. It might have been the game where they had like Hamish Watson on the wing or whatever ridiculousness, wearing number 9 because everybody was ill, and Werner Cox stood out because he was just as absolute steam train to carry his ball, just like what I want to batter everyone, and I am okay with it. Like, yes, please.
Yeah, he puts that beautiful face at risk every single time he tackles somebody, and he's your best friend after he's just creamed your ass. He puts a hurt on you, and then he's like, dude, I'm so sorry, I love you, and he's picking you up.
Absolutely shoulders to your face, puts you down, spits on you when you're on the floor, and then goes, you all right? You okay?
Can you join my prayer circle?
Can I get you up? My thoughts and prayers are with you.
How's the kids? How's the kids? Kids. As he's dropped an elbow on you on the way down. Legend. Love him.
He's a live wire, though. I named him as one of my diamonds in the ruck last year as my sort of player of the week in the weekly show, and it was one of the only times I've gotten flack for that because he had also really, really illegally tackled somebody in that same game and gotten away with it, and people were like, dude.
Takes game to recognise.
Yeah, and anyone with a second name that you can just giggle at regularly as well. I'm a happy guy.
There's a joke just hanging over the plate there about we're all easily fall for him when he comes here, so we're kind of a sucker for. Anyway, I'm not going to finish it. Craig, one of the hardest things to keep track of for me is the off-season moves in the URC. What are some big changes teams have made in the last couple of months? Like, what has your team done? Of what we already said, I've seen a bit of hype already. Are you happy with the things your team's doing? Are you seeing other teams kind of really making big moves to go, gee, I wish we had thought of that? Like, what's been going on this offseason?
Well, the problem I have is, and I'm incredibly underprepared for you, David, because I have been divorced from rugby for some time, for the last probably 3 or 4, 3 months or something, because I just haven't had the time or actually had the oomph behind me to actually follow a lot of it. Obviously with Edinburgh, well, first things first, I'm going to a game next weekend, which is absolutely I've not been to an Edinburgh game for a year. So
I was going to say, I know it's not a Super 6 game.
Yeah, so no, it's not a Super 6 game. I'm going to go and see Edinburgh play Gloucester.
Really?
So I'm looking forward to that. That's a pre-season game. But yeah, I think the Edinburgh have made some very, very good moves. I think they've brought in some good players. I think they've brought in Thompson. I've forgotten his first name already. Ross Thompson in from Glasgow, hoping to scare the juju of the Marvel Doctor Strange Ali Price. I think he's going to come in and get some game time at 10, which will give Healy some much needed rest. Does
he need rest? Have they actually played him at all, or?
Yeah. I don't know if they played him. I think that's what Ben Healy needs is some game time to really develop with Edinburgh, I'm sure. So yeah, I think it would be great to see Ross. Well, first things first, Ross Thompson has been injured for a long, long time. It'd be great to see. It's great to see him get some game time.
Definitely
get a bit of oomph about him, and also he is an Edinburgh boy. So he's actually coming back to Edinburgh. So he's not coming back to Edinburgh, but he's coming back to his hometown. So there's it'll be nice to have a little bit of contact. He'll hopefully have a little bit of something to with the crowd, etc. as well. So that's
very cool.
I look forward to seeing him getting a little bit of game time and hopefully coming back to he is a player who now Johnny and John will slap this in my face about it, because I was quite critical about Ross Thompson, but it was mainly because, if you remember, we had a period of time where Ross Thompson was second in the ranks because Finn Russell was fifth. If you remember, when Gregor Townsend said that Finn Russell has been dropped because of performance.
Due to form.
So,
guys, we talked about that like that week, and I was like, they got to get rid of Townsend right now, like, because that was an outright lie, and he's wrong, and he's not doing well anyway. And here he is. He's got the extension through the next World Cup. Anyway.
I've been having him fired for like 4 years.
Exactly.
I'm like, and I'm still okay with it. Fire him.
Well,
I honestly think every single day he wakes up and he's like, really? No email?
Just
no
looks
phone
at
call?
the mirror. Just,
okay.
What a time to be
honey, don't worry.
No,
we're still good.
This is the thing, though. I actually don't think. I think he believes his own hype. I think he's actually anyone who can give a PowerPoint presentation that makes you go to sleep, because all he's doing is reading off the PowerPoint presentation. He's not actually, it's like, I'm going to G up these. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take the Lions and I'm going to G them up to go out and play, and and all the Lions are going out going, oh my.
He should make it one step worse, where he has an assistant who advances the slides for him. So after every slide, he has to say, "Next slide, please."
Slide. Oh, anyone who does that in a presentation should honestly be fired on the spot. So if you can't run your own slides, get out.
So it's an odd one, but Anyway, as just to go back, Ross Thompson, I think it'll be interesting to see how he goes. Really looking forward to seeing, obviously, Junior Tuipulotu, Matt Scott, yes, I said it again, and the return of Darcy Graham. I think,
God, I hope that guy can stay clear of the injury bug. He's just one of the best people you can ever watch playing when he's fit. It doesn't make sense how good he is.
Yeah, and obviously my Argentinian king, he'll be back as well. So
he is back. Great, I didn't know that.
Buffelli will be back as well. So we'll see where we are.
I mean, there is only one Argentinian king, and I think he's named Sebastian. But you know what?
Here we go. Again, I'll just step away.
I mean, I'll give you Crown Prince maybe, but
Crown Prince. The thing is, the funny thing about it is that. I was going to say something there and I've totally forgotten it, because I'm totally shocked by John's insistence that Buffelli is not as good as.
I swear to God, in my initial draft for the script, I had tried to sort of shoehorn in Jovan Sebastian just to see if I could get one of you to be like. Ah!
I saw the picture of him goal kicking.
Yes.
On the Edinburgh socials, and I honestly wanted to just delete Facebook instantly. It is a disgusting travesty, and people are like, oh look, he's playing 10. Get away! Oh, I hate it.
I have to say, I've been quite not a supporter of his. I think he is a good prop. Let's just say that's where we are.
He's a club level prop.
He's a good prop.
I'll give you a club level prop.
And
then,
not
an international prop.
John, shush now. When my lips move, I'm talking. Shush now. Okay?
Craig has the talking stick.
Where's my green circle? That's what I miss about Teams or Zoom. I used to have a green circle to say Craig is talking. But anyway, no. So and then last season, the doubts started to creep in. And the doubts crept in even more, and the doubts have been creeping in a long time, to the point I've started driving around past WP Nell's house and and whining out of the window, going WP, and he, knocking on his door and then running away and stuff like that, and we'll have to see, because I do.
Are we already talking about Stuart Hogg again?
Oh, whoa! We weren't even going to mention his name.
Sorry. I can't believe I went there.
It's like Beetlejuice, man.
I've got Beetlejuice socks on, by the way, just as a total aside.
Wow. Amazing.
Good. I'll already send you a picture.
Funnily enough, Johnny McGinty has a Stuart Hogg socks on.
That's right. that's like a pure creepy thing about Johnny. That he's actually got Stuart Hogg shorts.
He's like Jamie Gunn out of Silence of the Lambs. He wears Stuart Hogg's stuff on.
I hope to God that Johnny is listening right now.
It puts the hair gel in the basket.
Oh, dearie me. Oh,
Even I was not prepared for this little tangent. I'm usually the one throwing the breadcrumbs in the wrong direction so you all will follow this. And now this time I'm like, wait, what?
Where have they gone?
John, same question if you actually remember what it was.
I do.
What's Glasgow been up to this offseason? What moves have you seen from other teams that have you thinking, ooh, that was a good bit of business right there?
Yeah, so I mean, interestingly enough, we've just talked about props, and Glasgow's big signings have been props. You know, four of our 5 signings have been props, and then Adam Hastings, who we've talked about previously. Recently, Sam Talakai has joined, so Australian prop, joined from the Rebels, which, you know, again, it's just one of those ones.
Australian. Woo.
I know, yeah, but the last one was pretty successful.
Why isn't he playing with the Rebels anymore? Oh,
right. Yeah. Oops. Yeah. So hopefully he's on quite a cheap deal, because that's what we do with rugby players that get made unemployed. We pick them up and pay them very little money. Yeah. Speaking of another unemployed prop, British and Irish Lion Rory Sutherland has of course joined Glasgow to complete the Scottish set.
Has he? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so Suz is coming to Glasgow. Hopefully.
How old is he now?
Good question. He is 31.
31, okay.
31. Not had his injury problems to seek, obviously, over the years, but I think, you know, I fit Rory Sutherland as an asset to any team.
Sure, definitely.
And, you know, he didn't... I thought he got quite a rough rap when he was over in Ireland. I think they were quite hard on him because they were obviously about to sign other international props from South Africa. So I think Suz could really... This could be a really good point in his career where he can, you know, settle down for a few years. Props can go on. He's missed a lot of rugby over the years as well, which isn't always a bad thing, you know, because he's not got the miles on the clock that some players, you know, Xander Fagerson, for example, you know, if Xander Fagerson's playing when he's 35, it's a miracle because the amount of miles he's got on his clock. Yeah. Whereas someone like Sutherland missed 2 years of rugby. He's not got quite as much miles on it. Yes, there's injury issues there, and that will play a part, but I reckon he could be a great signing for Glasgow. Also got Finn Richardson coming in from Exeter, another Scottish qualified. So he was on the tour. I want to say he was on the summer tour. Scottish
Imagine being Scottish qualified and having your first name be Finn. You'd be like, no.
It's Finn with one N and not 2 N's. So
really,
it's Finn Smith as opposed to Finn Russell. So, you know, obviously a massive downgrade. But yeah, so we've got those guys. We've also got Patrick Scheckerling come in from Exeter as well, Namibian prop. He's 25. Really? Big lump of a boy by all pictures.
Like
He's a big lump of a boy.
By all pictures.
Nice. Yeah, big lump of a boy. And then Adam Hastings is completing the 5 that have come in for Glasgow.
All these moves sound like that might make Exeter worse next year, which is always good news because, Jesus Christ.
Well, that's the thing. Exeter are they're such a weird club, aren't they? Because they really had their hard reset last year where they were like, yeah, we've realised that the budget cap, we've paid these people too much money, so we need to get rid of half of our team and just watch the, English players exodus across Europe. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Exeter go.
They filled that role of the team you most like because they're the spoiler for Saracens when Saracens were the bad guys.
Yeah,
and then it evolved into, oh wait, they're the most overtly racist team in the entire, in all of rugby, possibly. Yep. So oh my god.
Yeah.
The problem I have is, and I'm going to defend Exeter Chiefs here in a second.
You do that because I'm going to go and grab a beer.
Okay. Nice. What I will say is it's not so much the players are racist, and that's the thing.
No. If you have the opportunity to make a living as a rugby player, you should take it.
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
Exeter calls you up and says, yes, I will pay to play here, you should. And it's not your job to say the ownership is racist.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right.
The ownership and the fans. I think the fans don't seem really. Well, there's two things. Either the fans are ignorant of the situation, which is a poor show, or they're actually playing it up now, which is absolutely diabolical. So that's the two issues that we have. But
that's the
anyway,
feeling
that's a different story. Yeah.
So you've already, I've also already stolen so much of your time. I feel like I should keep this ship moving along. I want to look at the other hubcaps. Shields in the URC. John, who's winning the Irish Shield this season? Is that a dumb question considering R.G. Snyman and, as you mentioned, famous Dubliner Jordy Barrett are going to Leinster this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Irish Rugby Union have yet again showed their cards very early, and the fact that there's massive players going to Leinster once again. Munster will fancy their chances, and I think the great thing about them, they've got really good core coaching team. They know what they're trying to do. They've got a lot of experience and now getting quite far in these tournaments. I think it's going to be tough though, because Leinster, it's always difficult after a World Cup year when you're a team that produces 16 to 20 players for international squads. So the year after is usually a bit more consistent. I reckon you'll see Leinster kick on. I would be surprised if they've not qualified for a home playoff, 4 games before the end of the season. I would be shocked, and you'll maybe see them lose a game at the end of the season purely because they've played their under 12s.
It's funny because we did talk about this before, though, because that eventuality kind of backfired for them last year, where they were like, "Oh, we can send the kids to South Africa for this late little tour, mini tour," and then they kind of imploded after that. I wonder if Leinster want to be the hanger-arounders instead of the leaders this year.
Well, I wonder when they're going to South Africa, so I am going to check that in the background.
Yeah, that I would love it if you did that because I haven't looked yet. I am going to skip ahead. Craig, what do you see happening with the Welsh Shield this year? I already mentioned liking some of the Ospreys moves. For some reason, I'm feeling optimistic about the Dragons. Not to win the Shield, but just to be significantly better. How do you see the regions shaking out this year?
Yeah, I think let's start with the Dragons. The Dragons have got new owners. They've not only have they bought the Dragons, but they've also secured the I've forgotten the name of their stadium, but the stadium that they play in. So is it? Yeah,
Rodney Parade.
Rodney Parade. Yeah,
Rodney Parade.
So for me,
it's not just a parade. It's Rodney Parade.
It's Rodney Parade.
Rodney.
So Rodney. So yeah, I think what will be good for them is the fact that they've got a little bit of security there, and hopefully players will be paid at least a decent wage, or a living wage at least. So we'll wait and see. So
I don't know if they can afford that. But
well, you never know. You never know. I think. So I don't think you're going to see much from the Dragons this year, but I think at least that they're going to be able to start to build rather than just exist. Yeah, I think Scarlets hugely underperformed last year. Some of their players are phenomenal. I think they've got Fafita. Is it Fafita they've got? The big
the big second row.
The big back row, yeah. Who is incredibly abrasive, incredibly dangerous, and also unfortunately can be sent off regularly. But I think he is a phenomenal player and really drags him along. He's a John Barclay of a player. They've taken him to heart and he drags the team along with them. But the team I think you're going to see more of this season, and I think could take it to Ospreys, is Cardiff. Because Cardiff are one of those teams that they thrive on turnover ball and mistakes from the teams that they're playing, and they force teams into mistakes and then go and score. Next thing, they're almost like a hockey game. It's like the other team's attacking them, pinning them down to 22.
Cold and boring.
Cold and boring, always sliding around for some reason with sharp objects. No, just deciding when the whistle goes, just have a punch up. No, that's a different. I think they're under the cosh all the time in the 22. Teams are battering down the door, and then all of a sudden, whoosh, they're up to the other end scoring a try because they've had an intercept or whatever. They're incredibly dangerous at times. They just unfortunately didn't either have the conditioning or the game plan for anything else. And I think if they can solidify their actual their set piece, and they can solidify their game plan, and still have that ability to turn the game around and thrive on mistakes, I think you could see them going that a little bit further. So
it's tough for Cardiff, where I think Tinas de Beer is starting for them. He's pretty much locked in now. But it's weird when one of your regional teams, their sort of I don't want to call them their main player, but a high-profile player is never going to play for your national team. Like, if it wasn't Wales, that would seem like a good thing, almost in a way. But, like, it's a weird situation they're in, right?
Yeah, but I think that's what they need, and that's the problem that Wales have, is that and we actually had a chat with someone about it the other day, and we're talking. He's still saying that there's going to be 4 teams in Wales, and that's never going to change. And it's like, well, actually, what they need to do is lose a team, and then spread their it means that their rugby, their actual international squad can be spread around those 3 teams far more evenly. And then when they go, it means that there's not a night and day, like the Sharks, for example. You look at the Sharks; they're a night and day team. When they've got all their international players back, the Sharks are phenomenal. But most of the time, they're underperforming dramatically. So I think, you
love nothing more when you see a fixture list and you go, we've got a Welsh team around the Six Nations or around the Autumn Internationals, because you just know it's going to be the kids. Especially if you've got an away game, like an away game down at Cardiff, on either end of the Six Nations, and you go, yeah, okay, Scottish teams will generally be, we'll be hit quite hard by the Six Nations, but that the Welsh regions, you're going to be talking, they'll be calling up people for the stand to come and be on the bench. It's that desperate down there just now.
Mm. Well, John, what did you discover in your research journey just now?
So, funnily enough, Leinster are going to South Africa just after the Six Nations. So a couple of weeks. So they're down in. They have got. Let me just bring.
So they're going to send Geordie, so the other guys can rest.
Yeah, they're going to rest. Yeah, so they've got the Bulls on the 22nd of March, and then they've got the aforementioned Sad Seal Sharks, 29th of March. So that's their tour. But obviously, Leinster are going to start the season and end the season. They've got at either end of the year, they've got 2 of the toughest fixtures of the season. They've got Edinburgh opening weekend, and then last weekend they've got Glasgow. So they better hope they're qualified by then, because we are bringing it.
Craig, it sounded like you were about to jump in.
I was just going to say Geordie doesn't travel. Geordie's just going to be he's going to be there for home games. That's it.
Yeah,
he'll be at a cafe in Dublin. What is it the rugby players like? A flat white? It seems like every rugby player. Oh, I just go for a flat white.
I'm just waiting to see how there's Rodney Parade on a wet Saturday night, and now comes Geordie Barrett on Rodney Parade to play the Dragons.
Can he do it at a wet Scotstoun on a Saturday evening? Can't be nonsense. That's it.
I'm pretty sure they have rain in New Zealand.
So, for some of your listeners might not get this reference. It's quite a famous soccer reference that talking about like world class players, and it's always can he do it on a wet Tuesday in Stoke is usually the reference. But can he do? No, it's like he's a world class player. Messi, Ronaldo. But can he do it on a wet Tuesday in Stoke? And you're like,
yeah, I can't. When you got to think about Scotstoun's one of those places. Actually, the Hive's getting like that too. But if you take your jacket the wrong way, you'll end up take your jacket off the wrong way. You end up in Norway. So there's not going to be there's not going to be Geordie Barrett's out there. Just you can see him just looking around, going, "What the hell am I doing?"
I reckon if the wind's going the right direction, though, Geordie could probably kick from about 90 metres at Scotstoun if the wind's
That's
with
true.
him.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And the length of the pitch is like, we've got a penalty on our 10, right? Posts, yep.
But you see, I think the thing is with Geordie though, I think Geordie's using this as his gap year. So I think it's going to be. I've always wanted to go to Edinburgh. So he comes over to Edinburgh. I've always wanted to go to Cardiff to see what Cardiff is like. So he's over to play Cardiff. Yeah. I've always wanted to go to France. So you'll go over to a Toulouse game if they're playing in a European Cup. And then if they've got, I've always, he's probably been to London a few times and played at Twickenham anyway. So he's not that bothered about it. So you ain't going to see him coming over. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to take the drive up to Connaught. Up to the racecourse
over Galway.
Yeah, that looks really appealing to me.
There's no doubt he's putting on 14 stone in Guinness as well when he's over. It's a proper gap year, isn't it?
Yeah, totally, man.
I love me some Guinness, but every pint is like a loaf of bread, for sure.
Oh yeah.
I am wondering. So I think Harry Jones from the 8-9 podcast, he said something recently. He pointed out, imagine being Mr. Barrett. Imagine being the dad of the Barrett brothers, where it's like, that's funny. I sired 3 out of 15 of the starting All Blacks this weekend. Like, as dads, is there a Scottish equivalent to, like, who's the dad that you would look to and be like, yes, thank you, sir?
I just think, though, imagine the rooms. You've got Bodie's room at the house, and it's like, it's all got posters up of Dan Carter, and it's all.
I reckon he would be quite a tidy.
Yeah, and then you've got Geordie who's there, and he's kind of similar.
He has like a Slipknot poster.
Yeah, and then
yeah.
And then
for sure.
And then you've got the gimp case down in the basement for Scott to come out. Come on, Scott.
He's always banging his head on the rafters. They're like, "Oh, Scotty's up."
Scott smash! Scott smash! Scott don't like red card, but we'll have
Scott,
one if
like
Yeah.
He might be crazy like a fox.
Yeah.
I just love the idea of Scott Barrett being down in the dungeons because
I know
they keep him shackled. Scotty man.
They
only know he's up when they hear him banging his head on the rafters.
Yeah, they go down and give him a loaf of bread and some water. Someone go and feed Scott.
Hey, you guys.
But I actually am more inclined to think the reality is he's down there like working on an essay, and he's like, "What? Do I have to come upstairs for breakfast? Are you sure? I have some serious pursuits that I'm working on."
Yeah,
he's probably sitting there judging the pair of them, going, pair of backs.
Exactly. He's listening right now, going, "You guys have no idea."
Yeah. Bowden's the worst. He's so messy. And he likes and he eats all the Burger King. And here's me, the
studying theoretical physics, and then goes out
salads.
He's like, "Could I have some peace and quiet, please? I want to get off this farm."
The only way I'm going to ever get to go and study and be a rocket scientist if I have to play this goddamn game again.
And it's so typical that Geordie gets to go to Dublin and I don't.
I'm trying to take care of this family. John, do you feel like you have a handle on what we can expect from the South African teams this season? I think we already touched on it. There's no way the Sharks are that bad again, right?
Yeah, no, I don't think they will be. I think the South African team, they're such it's a strange one, right? Because you've got this massive elephant in the room of the travel to South Africa and the mini tours and, just how difficult it is. But then also that works in reverse as well. They are having to travel away and it is a massive impact. And, yes, they're professional rugby players, but it's a huge impact. And you've also got the internationals kind of intertwining. Craig's already touched on it, that you'll see sometimes you'll see teams that are stacked with Springboks, and then other times you're like, you recognise the surname, but then you realise it's the Wish version, and you go, right, crap, okay, I don't know who this is. So, yeah, I mean, I still think they'll peak at the right time, and you'll see at least 3 of the South African teams in the playoffs.
3, okay. Because the Sharks have to be better. There was already 2 last year. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the one that you'll miss out on, the Lions are, I think they're on the bubble. I think you'll see the Stormers. Craig's absolutely right. The Stormers could be outrageously good and top the whole thing, or they could be utter dunk, and you see a coach getting fired midway through a season and it all implodes. And I mean, if they come to Scotland and get rinsed again, then that's probably what's going to happen. We've got the hoodoo on them, but yeah, I think you're going to see the Sharks will be up there, Stormers will be up there. I reckon the Lions will be the one that might be.
The Lions are destroying it. They're top of the table in the Curry Cup this year, but it's a weird competition. This is the first year I've watched it, and it's weird.
Yeah,
you never know what team you're going to see from week to week.
I mean, it's kind of the same with most curry houses in Scotland as well. You just never know what you're going to get. So.
I think that's why they called it that.
Maybe it is. Yeah.
I think it's just like rugby league over in the UK that are sponsored by Papa John's, and they get pizza at the end of the night. Maybe all the Curry Cup guys get a curry at the end of the game.
Get a curry.
Believe me, it'll always be better than Papa John's.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
To be fair as well, Craig, though, when you were playing regularly and you go to clubs for your after-match dinner, and the clubs that have a curry on, oh, yes, please. Big fan of that. Big fan.
Although most of the time you just get a pie and beans.
It's usually a pie and beans and a lentil soup.
Aye, pie and beans and that's it. But or some sort of pasta option that's been boiled for some time.
Aye,
boiled taste to it, quite right. Yeah.
So both of you, it's been quite a while now. I feel like we should probably start the show. So I'm going to hit record. Any last thoughts before we get to our way too early predictions? By the way, I have stolen that phrase from Phil Harris on the Jacks Rangers show. He's been doing a bang-up job for the entire history of the MLR. I think it's brilliant. Phil, shout out to you, my friend. Way too early predictions. Craig, what about you? Anything that you've been thinking about in the anticipation and the lead up for this season that we haven't covered yet?
Well, I'm looking forward to Dougie Fife coming back to Edinburgh because the
as we say in the MLR, Scottish legend Dougie Fife.
Scottish legend Dougie Fife, because the MLR coach, the Free Jacks coach, has come over and he's going to bring half of his players roster with him as well.
To be fair, Scotty was also the one who ditched Dougie.
Oh, right, okay. Well,
Dougie was a Free Jack until Scott got the reins, and he was like, you know what? We don't need this guy.
This guy sounds so. I don't know all that much about your new coach, Craig, but I mean, he does sound like he knows what he's talking about. He sounds like an absolute genius.
He's honestly brilliant. It's devastating that he's gone.
Yeah, Ali Price is shaking in his boots. I tell you what, that's what she's
Ali Price is sitting there going, "I'm a British and Irish Lion with a 2-year contract. I'm not shaking nothing.
I'm shaking nothing. I've got a big rabbit to feed. That's for sure.
Exactly. Yeah." Floppy years.
Hey, listen, that house rabbit is in the pot because they've had a baby now. So that surrogate baby pet is
the only chance that thing's making it to the pot is if Edinburgh do terminate his contract early, and he has to. It's like Hunger Games style,
I knew that we were going to touch on such topics as the West Wing and the Hunger Games here today, but we do have to get to our way too early predictions. John, my friend, I need you to give us the 8 teams who are going to make the playoffs in the upcoming Rock Nation Untied Rugby Championship.
I mean, it's got quite a title, hasn't it? Yeah. So we're going to see Leinster, Munster, the Bulls.
Wait, I'm using a pen here. Leinster, Munster, Bulls.
Leinster, Munster, the Bulls, Stormers, Glasgow, Edinburgh.
Edinburgh, okay.
And
you got one more.
Why is that such a surprise?
Two more. Leinster,
Sorry about
Munster.
that.
Oh, Edinburgh.
Edinburgh? Are they a team still?
I think I've got two more, surely.
I have Leinster, Oh yes. My writing was too big, so I'm using a pen.
Yeah. So I think the Ospreys will squeak in there by the quirk of the tournament.
Just like last year.
And I reckon the Sharks.
The Sharks. That makes a lot of sense. Craig, John says Leinster, Munster, Bulls, Stormers, Sharks, Ospreys. I mean, not in this order. Glasgow, Edinburgh. Go ahead. What's your 8?
Okay. Leinster, Munster.
Yep.
Bulls.
Those 3, by the way, all of us agree that those are locked in, right? Like, there's no way they're even if they're not the top 3, they're in the top 8. Yeah,
Absolutely.
It would take 20 levels of cataclysm for Leinster and those guys to not be in there.
Yeah.
So those 3. Glasgow will be the 4th.
Okay.
And then I'm going to see Benetton.
Ooh, nice.
Hey, I like that, and I think you're right.
Yeah, Edinburgh.
Edinburgh?
just seems to be the thing now. It's just like Edinburgh. That's sort of going to be announced.
By the way, I once saw a thing that said an American's pronunciation guide to the city of Edinburgh. You should pretend that you're in a fraternity and one of your stupid brothers is on the other side of the street and his name is Eden, and you have to be like, Edinburgh.
Edinburgh.
Well, we are just for anyone that's listening out there that isn't from Scotland. We are fed up of the Edinburgh, as in the Edinburgh. Edinburgh is not.
Edinburgh is much worse, though, right?
Yeah. Okay. It's
okay.
Edinburgh.
Sorry, we're at 6.
At 6, and then obviously I'm going to put Cardiff in there.
Oh, I like that.
Hello.
And so what I've put in the Sharks and I've put in the Bulls, right? Or have I just put the Bulls?
You haven't said the Sharks yet.
Okay. See, it's between Sharks and Ulster for me, you see.
Ooh.
So, because I can't really have one South African team because it's going to be 2. So I'm going to have to go with Sharks. I want to see Ulster in there because I think it'll shut Stephen Ferris up about going on about their pitch and how the pitch has caused them to be rubbish. But I think we'll have to have the Sharks.
So if I'm not an idiot, I think the difference there is that John says Ospreys and Craig says Cardiff. So who are our semifinalists? Who are losing out in the next round? Obviously, these things are impossible to predict because we don't know what the matchups will be and so on. But I guess a better question might be: are there any upsets out of those top 4 versus the next 4?
Yes.
Oh, hello! There you go.
There we go.
Edinburgh are going to be the top 4.
Yes. I love it.
At Glasgow's expense.
You are too much. You are too much. Oh, you.
By the way,
my next, are you?
Yeah. Nice.
Too much.
Do you want to go back? Do you want to go back and forth for? Do you want to go back and forth for our final 4? With Craig saying Edinburgh for the first. John, who's your first? Your first final 4?
At expense of reigning URC champions Glasgow Warriors, Craig. My goodness.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, give them their full title, please.
What you got to understand is they were Pro 12 champions and then they were Guff after it. So it's going to happen again.
Townsend was calling it in at that point. He already had the Scotland job.
Yeah,
Franco doesn't want it.
And it's going to be the same thing with Franco. He's going to be in the Scotland squad as well.
Townsend's going to be the Scotland coach in 2050, and you know it.
That seems very likely.
I think the top 4 will be very similar to this year. I think you'll see Munster, Leinster, Bulls, Glasgow will be your top 4.
Wait, Munster, Leinster.
Not in that order. Do you want an order? Because I think Glasgow.
No, not in the order. Just the 4. Munster, Leinster, Glasgow. What?
Bulls.
Craig, you gave us Edinburgh. Who are the other 3?
I think you're going to be Bulls. You're going to be Leinster, and I think you're going to probably. Oh, let's throw it about a bit. Let's have the Sharks in there. No. Take Benetton are going to be there. So Benetton, Edinburgh, Leinster, Bulls.
I will wager
Leinster,
with you right now,
Bulls.
Craig. If that is the top 4, I will pick a garment of your choosing and I will try and consume it live on air.
In what way will you consume it? Are you allowed to boil it? There's going to be a lot of rules we have to work out before this happens.
My socks.
My underpants will be sailing their way over to you.
Worn.
It's going to be quite a stew.
My Edinburgh underpants are going to be sailing on their way.
Excellent.
So,
I can't
John, obviously we won't know the actual positioning, but out of Munster, Leinster, Glasgow, and Bulls, who are the final 2 teams we're going to see in June 2025?
Yeah, so I think best ball in the world. I think Glasgow will be competitive this year, but I think that the Leinster hoodoo, how many trophies have they now missed out on over the last couple of years? I don't think that will continue. I think Leinster will make the final. I think they will be champions this year, and I think it will be I think it's going to be a Dublin final as well. I think Leinster will be top seed.
So you've got Leinster, Glasgow in the final, and Leinster.
I reckon it'll be Leinster Bulls actually.
Okay.
I think Glasgow will come up short in a semi.
Okay.
I
mean, you thinking that last year really worked out, so.
Well, exactly. Yeah, you know, I'm using reverse psychology on this.
Exactly.
Glasgow
are terrible. They're never going to make it.
I think I suggested they might not make top 8 last year.
I think that's right. Yeah, we were all on board with Edinburgh making like number 6. I think we decided, and Glasgow just.
I think Manson said something very different last year regarding Edinburgh's prospects. Remind me what you said, Craig.
No, that was 2 years ago. I thought.
Was that 2 years ago? You thought you were winning it?
To be honest, I thought it was 2 years in a row, but
hey, listen.
I'll have to go listen back. Craig, your final 4 is Edinburgh, Bulls, Leinster, Benetton. Who is going to make that final?
It's going to be an Italian final. No.
Nice.
It's going to be Leinster. What you've got, in my opinion, Leo Cullen, his job will no longer be there if they don't win something this year.
Good point.
I think, and they've spent so much money on bringing Jacques Nienaber there, and they've upset the apple cart by signing what's the monster South African? What's his name? Snyman, RG Snyman. They really and they've got Padio Barrett coming over. So I think you're going to. I think the juggernaut is, or the Borg as we call them, are going to be unstoppable this year. However,
who do they face in the final then?
Who do they face in the final? Well, you see that Edinburgh could call them close because they have got such a huge coaching team.
They're in there with a shout. If I'm looking at the graph that I'm just making up on paper right now, they could be playing Benetton in that semi-final.
Yeah, and we'll lose to Benetton. Because everyone does, because Benetton just turn up for some reason. I honestly, I think, well, actually, if they are the top 4, then I think you're going to struggle to have a
final.
I honestly think you're going to. I think it's going to be a Leinster Bulls final. I really do, and I think it's going to be in Dublin.
Leinster Bulls. So you both have Leinster versus Bulls in the final, and John's already said Leinster. John, Craig, are you gonna contradict, or are we gonna go straight across the board here?
I honestly think Leinster are going to win it. I really can't. I want to be. I want to say, Edinburgh are going to come through, but I'm being
contrary, Mary. But there's no evidence.
My Edinburgh Benetton thing is a excitement, and hopefully they're going to prove something to all the doubters. I don't think they'll be top 8, I think, but I don't think they're going to be top 4. But I think I want them to be there. But but Leinster and Bulls, I think, are going to be top 8, top 4, and they're going to be in the final. It just has to. And if it's a Dublin, mind you, the Bulls did well in Dublin the last time when they beat them in the semi. So, I think they'll. With all the money that they're spending, that the Irish Rugby are spending on Leinster, I think you'll probably see them win.
Craig, very last thing. So we've apparently we've all got Leinster versus Bulls in that final. Who is the MVP? Who's the player of the match in that final as you see Leinster winning?
Well, come on. I may as well go for the absolute and utter shameless pick of Paddy Barrett will kick the goals if he's still there.
Will he even be playing, or will he be back in New Zealand at that point?
Well, that's the thing. That's the question I've got to ask. That will he be?
Because they will have already gotten what they wanted out of him, which is cover during Six Nations and in Europe.
The fact everyone's calling him cover for Six Nations. Yeah, we're going to get Jordy Barrett over, and we're just going to use him for all, suck out all the marrow out of him because he's, and leave a shell of a player to go back to New Zealand.
No, they're going to leave him exactly the same player he is now.
Exactly. He's got one leg stronger than the other because that's all he kicks, and then that's it. And then.
But it's from stomping on the floor to try to get Scott to shut up in the basement, right?
Yes. Will you shut up, Scott? Oh, rugby. So it's just, I think, come on.
Jordy Barrett is your player of the match in the Leinster winning final of the URC. Really?
It looks like it, yeah. I think they're going to have to just go that way.
It will be because you know fine well the commentators who pick these things are going to be absolutely salivating over him, and it'll be like, even if he plays boggin, they'll be like, oh, Jordy Barrett, Jordy.
Look at the way he's tied his shoelaces. It's amazing.
Oh, look at that. Look how he's standing in position at fullback. Oh my God, what a talent.
You're not confusing him with their attitude towards James Lowe right now?
Oh, the opportunity ever. Yeah, I guarantee you they'll be looking at, if he does actually have Irish heritage, they'll be like, do you want to just stand down for a few seasons and come and be Irish? Come and join your boy James with the worst top knot I've ever seen. Actually, no, that's not true. Ryan Wilson's was worse.
Thank you.
I was never in doubt.
I'm sorry, but anyone who starts playing with their hair while they're on the rugby field, they're not concentrating on the game. Get on with it. Sorry.
You were talking about Werner Koch earlier. I mean, I wouldn't be able to stop either.
He doesn't tie his up, and he looks.
And he doesn't play with it either. He lets it roam free. He lets it be wild.
Well, there's a lot of.
Yeah, he's pure rock star. Like, yeah.
He's almost Alan Dell. Almost.
So, as we've established over the last several years, when you guys have been on the show more than anyone else, and quite frankly, as you become dear friends of mine, one of the things I love about this show is I end up getting you to agree about things or like come together on things. And is this the pinnacle of that, where you both picked the same two teams to be in the final, and you're both picking Jordy Barrett to be the player of the match in the URC final this coming year as Leinster win?
I've literally already just put the bet on. Yeah, it's happening. You heard it here first.
Mind you, there may be the slight issue because, obviously the world's best 9, Jamieson Gibson Park. So I can't even say that without laughing. Anyway, is going to be obviously player of the match as well because the Irish commentators will
they
be. They
do like him a lot.
He's very good. Are you saying that that's not true?
Oh, I think he's all right. I don't think he's the world. Right, okay. I don't think he's the greatest of all time, but they all seem to think he is. But
interesting.
Yeah. They do love their Jameson over there, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
They do. Interesting. Huh.
I'm not saying he's rubbish.
Any other hot takes? Any other players that the comms are always talking up that you guys are like, no, he's rubbish.
Is this where we just go, and another one?
Yeah.
And...
I just handed you a whole flight of darts. Throw them.
Well, you know my feelings on the old Australian, so but that's a different story.
I was wondering if I should bring him up or if I should
then
just
the
let
thing
you
is,
do it.
You see, this is the thing, though, and it's not the fact that I think he's rubbish. However, Matt Fagerson has had a phenomenal year last year,
right?
And probably kept him out of a few games that he didn't get, that he didn't get to play. But my big problem is the fact that he has told everyone how he was emotional, and he was very frank, and I have to thank him for that. I think he's, as someone who has been interviewed regularly and has not toed the Scotland PR line at all. I salute him for that. I don't have a major problem with that. And I don't have an issue with the guy. I really don't. My only problem is that it's more the reaction of he is the second coming of God in Scotland. And he has already turned around and said he got emotional playing for Australia and loved all that. And he's just over here to extend his career and his international career with Scotland. So for me, although frank, and I'm fine with that, that's up to him. But, it's just the whole thing of, he's the most wonderful Scottish player we've ever had. Well, hang on a minute, he's not really a Scottish player.
Well, when you compare him to God, I mean, they're of an age.
Oh,
Nice.
I don't think there's many people saying from a Scotland perspective that he is the second coming around. I think he's a very, very good player, and I think he's an integral part of that Scotland side.
I've got no problem with him being a very good player.
I think from a Glasgow perspective, I think he's really embraced being at Glasgow, and he looks very happy in Glasgow. And I think, you guys have had plenty of players over the years that aren't Scottish, who you've embraced and taken to heart. And it just so happens this one, because of a quirk in the eligibility rules, is able to represent Scotland. Let's not forget, Dempsey was part of an Australian back row that, he was a massive part of a brilliant back row and represented Australia in that and was part of that. So he is a very talented rugby player.
I don't have a problem with that at all.
We're very lucky to have him. And I think, it's back to what we've said before about the kind of, he's been honest about it. He got emotional playing for Australia. It's not that he doesn't care playing for Scotland, but the way the interview was pitched, he knew it was different. And he appreciated it was different, and he didn't. Yeah.
Oh, it's a great interview. I'm absolutely stand by that. And to be brutally honest with you, between us three, because nobody, between us three,
because nobody else is listening. Go ahead.
No one else is listening.
God damn it.
That was meant to be a joke because we're actually on it. We're live and everything. That was meant to be that whole.
Damn it.
God, I'm never coming on this podcast again, which probably a lot of people will be happy about.
No, you take my listenership from 0 to 1, please.
Yeah.
Quick, grab your shovel, Craig. Keep digging.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, I was going to say, between the three of us, it's mainly because the Warrior Nation have actually got upset with me calling him an old Australian that I've just dug in.
Oh,
and I'm just,
so
on my side of things, I think he is a great player. I think he plays very, very well. I think it's questionable. I think the quirk, the whole playing for a different nation, should have been dealt with the way it was meant to be dealt with, and that was if you have been lured away from Samoa and from Fiji and from all these poorer nations because you're chasing. You're trying to make a difference in your family's life and you play for a different country and get 1 or 2 caps, then that's fine. It's the problem is you're going from an Australia to a Scotland, from an England to a France or whatever it is. I think it just seems a bit kind of what's the word? Optimistic, opportunistic.
Disingenuous? Okay.
Disingenuous, yes.
So bear in mind that law has, in fact, meant that Israel Folau has continued his international career, which we can say is a horrible quirk of that as well.
Yeah.
So.
John, any last thoughts before I let you all go?
No, I'm just. I will be excited for the season when it comes.
So describe what player you're gonna become in the next 10 days or so as we lead up.
I mean, I think we've just talked about Jack Dempsey. Obviously, I'll get my
There we
cap
go.
on. Get my cap
Craig, are
on
you also going to
backwards.
be Jack Dempsey by the time the season starts?
No, Ali Price is really going to be me as well. Just standing around with my gut hanging out and just thinking about the money I'm making.
Poor Ali Price is getting it tight.
I know.
I hope his rabbit doesn't listen to this.
He's sitting at home hugging the thing. The rabbit's like, "It's okay, Ali. You're not really that bad. You're fine."
Ali Price has called his rabbit Ali as well after himself.
Okay, that's a little crazy.
The rabbit was cuddling Ali.
Oh, right, okay, I'm with you. Right, okay, yeah.
The rabbit's got him, and it's like.
I do like that better. That the rabbit.
With the big floppy ears, rabbit, kind of rubbing against him a wee bit.
Well, you see, Henry Burgos is retired. I need to pick on some sort of Edinburgh.
You do, yeah.
And I'm not going to do that to Ben Vellicott, you know.
You do have to have an enemy, Craig. It's true. I chose a loose head prop as my enemy. You've went for a scrum half. Who's the coward here?
The thing is, he doesn't do any fighting anyway. He lets the rabbit do it. So
exactly. Well, that's why he got it. Why would you get a rabbit that big unless you're going to put it in for some fighting?
Well, I don't think it would be literally possible to end the show in a better moment than that. Thank you both so much, as always. Like, it's pretty obvious you two are my favorite people to talk to about rugby in the entire world. This has just been fantastic. I, at least, have gone from Duhan level to Darcy Graham level. I guess I've laterally moved just with my enthusiasm, but I can't wait. It's going to be an incredible year. I can't wait to talk to you both halfway through the season when you can both say, it's fine.
Edinburgh in 12th, Glasgow in 8th.
Yeah, and there'll be some.
We've lost to Ireland in the Six Nations again. Gibson Park has scored a hat trick. It's all very upsetting.
Talked to a few people recently after the England performance in New Zealand. Are England better than we want them to be? Are they going to dominate the next couple of Six Nations?
They'll not dominate because they've got an intrinsic ability to absolutely self-destruct, and it is beautiful, but they are a very good team. They have a very, very good player pool. And if
John,
is
your Calcutta Cup streak continuing this year?
No, we'll be fine. No. Yeah, we'll beat them, but only because they've got Buffoon in charge.
I think we're going to get beaten by them, but that's going to be the only one they're going to win because I think they're on their. I can't believe that they've had one of the best defensive coaches in the world. Came along, started working with them, and went, I'm out of here. And boom, and he's gone. Felix Jones is away. So
there's no smoke without fire. They can talk it up all they want and go, oh no, it's not the same as Eddie Jones's era, but Borthwick has history. And when the dressing room goes, it goes. So
interesting.
I think I just don't rate him anyway. I don't think he's anywhere near as much as they think.
Oh, I'm glad I thought of it just before I let you go. What's with the Nucifora thing? I feel like Scottish people think, oh, what a great new addition, and everyone else in the world is like, good luck with that Nucifora guy.
I mean, he's had success, hasn't he? So it's, Scottish rugby putting their hand in their pocket to actually pay someone. I think Scottish rugby structure at the moment at the upper management level is very bad. So I don't think he's necessarily been set up for success anyway. So I think it might end up badly for us and we'll have paid someone a lot of money. But yeah, I wonder if he's got the same agent as famous Scott Johnson, because that's usually who we hire.
The thing is, though, and on a serious note, though, the problem I have is that I thought it was going to be a good hire, and I was quite interested in it. Yeah. And then I've done a bit of research and talked to a few of my fellow podcasters, and especially from Ireland, and they've all gone, well, either Glasgow or Edinburgh are going to love him. but there's only one team going to love him.
Interesting.
It's
like
we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. Hopefully, he doesn't want to walk that far. So hopefully it'll be Edinburgh. But it's
It is about time he's were favoured for a couple of seasons, isn't it?
Yeah, we've been absolutely shunted aside into this. This stadium we have to walk so far away from Murrayfield to get to. And we have been. I'm saying nothing about our coach because we have been kind of shunted that way. But
you've been given let's hire another South African because the last one worked.
Yeah, but I'm fed up of Glasgow getting all the money and Edinburgh getting none of it. So
that's it. Because you haven't I think it's a travesty that you have had to put up with having Buffelli, Van der Merwe, and Graham. It's incredibly difficult for you, and obviously, actually, I do think you have been doing an absolute badging. But your choice of number 8, you've had to replace Big Bill Mata with a club.
Big Bill Mata, he's injured again.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, out till November. Yeah, so instead you have got Magnus Gomez and Bradbury. Which will be he'll do well for you, and then everybody will be like, get him in the Scotland team, and then yet again he'll flatter to deceive. So that'll be fun. But you do have Javi and Sebastian, so you
listen,
you have been given the big
sunshine in every cloud.
Exactly.
Are you supposed to say sunshine in every McLeod? Is that
Whoa, yes.
There should only be one.
Whoa, there can only be one.
Oh, I feel like an idiot for not bringing it up earlier. I hope one of you watched this. You're probably at least aware of the result. Scotland killed Wales on Friday night. First half, Wales were leading. It looked like a very even match, which is what I expected. And then what happened? Was it that Scotland found a new level or Wales fell apart? Because something happened. Wales were terrible in the second half, at least scoreline-wise.
It's a mixture of conditioning. It's a mixture. Wales do incredibly well with their forwards. They've got some fantastic forwards. They've got some great defensive play. They can turn the ball over very, very well. But they couldn't stick with our backs. And that's where Scotland. We have for many, many years on the Scottish Rugby Pod bemoaned the fact that our passing and our back play has looked very kind of slow and ponderous, and they are a different team now. Their back play is fantastic. They've got some real live wire, and to be honest, and I don't mean to pick anyone out for criticism, but I'm going to. So probably I do mean it. But if the problem we have, the only issue I would say is if Chloe Rowley had passed a few more times, you'd probably find that our score could have been higher.
Interesting.
Because she hogged the shit out of it. Sorry. She just kept the ball and didn't pass it. But I would say they've got they've got a really live wire back line now. They've got some good depth now as well. So Jade Conkle-Roberts off the bench. Let's just talk about that. Fraser Brown is teaching them how to give away penalties, but also also how to deal with how he's really made the forwards look phenomenal. And I'll tell you what, Evie Gallagher at number 8. Wow, if we're talking about a Matt Fagerson and a Jack Dempsey, she's got the power of Dempsey and she's got the running of Fagerson. She is really
love that.
Amazing, really amazing. So yeah, it was a fantastic game.
So, because Craig's had a few sweary words, I would completely agree with you. And to really talk her up, she looks like an absolute bastard at 8. Like nightmare, a nightmare to play against. She looks
Emma Orr was great again.
Brutal. Yeah, absolutely.
She's just I don't know what it is about Emma Orr. It looks effortless.
Yeah.
She looks like she's going slow. She's a Pinot, Damien Pinot runner.
I love that comparison. That's fantastic.
Looks like she's just
She's like, I have the ball now. Oh, I'm scoring.
Yeah. That really. Yeah. I have to say,
what a season she had. What a season.
Yeah.
And just continuing it, brilliant. Great to see.
Really excited about it. Really excited about the WXV2.
John, Craig, you are two of my favorite people on the entire planet that we're spinning around the sun on right now. 2 weeks from now, the URC kicks off. I'm going to be watching. Y'all are going to be watching. It's going to be great. Halfway through the season, you can check in and tell me how meh it is, and I'll be like, but it's so good! But I love you both. Thank you so much for your time. It's been much longer than I expected, and I really appreciate the extra, the extra endless minutes that you spare for our little show here. Cheers. Talk to you soon, and be well.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
It gives me great pleasure to be here today.
Oh, it does, Nate.